Nadszedł czas zmiany, przejścia do prawdziwego działania wszechświata. I nadszedł czas, aby zrozumieć, że używamy stanu materii, by osiągnąć poziom zrozumienia duszy człowieka. Teraz rozumiesz, być może, dlaczego Kreator wysłał swoich posłańców w imię tego, co miałeś. To oni przynoszą uszy, aby można było ich użyć, gdy nadejdzie czas Mesjasza. Mogę nauczyć duszę i przesłanie. Nie by się przeciwstawiać, ale poprzez ich zrozumienie, przez tych, którzy stali się Mesjaszami, aby dawać ze swoich dusz, aby ich elewować. Zadanie stało się łatwe. Szkoła jest tutaj i uczniowie są tutaj w oddaniu. Wtedy nie będzie żadnej walki między tym, co nazywają muzułmanami, a chrześcijanami. Baranek i lew będą jeść i spać w tym samym gnieździe. Chrześcijanie i muzułmanie będą spać i modlić się w meczecie, w tym samym kościele, w imię ich dusz, nie w imię religii, które są używane do tworzenia tak wielu konfliktów, dla korzyści tych, którzy byli hiperaktywnymi dziećmi. Nadszedł czas, czas zmian jest tutaj. I jak powiedziałem, moje życzenie jest moim rozkazem. Jeśli pragniesz ujrzeć pokój, droga pokoju jest wyłożona bardzo wyraźnie. To dusza świadomości zbiorowej. Poprzez dawanie stworzy tą pozycję zmiany. Nic innego. W duszy człowieka nie ma długopisu. Jestem pewien, że po wejściu do społeczności uniwersalnej nigdy nie zobaczysz niczego zapisanego, ale równowagę pól duszy egzystencji. Staraj się być na tyle pokornym, aby nie stać się aroganckim w mocy, którą zrozumiałeś i posiadłeś. Inaczej wpadniesz w tą samą ścieżkę kościoła i meczetu. To jest to, co obiecaliśmy i to właśnie dostarczyliśmy. Musimy zrozumieć działanie duszy i musimy zrozumieć, że dusza człowieka jest gwiazdą w kosmosie wszechświata. Jeśli porównamy duszę człowieka i tak wielu nas, 7 miliardów w jednym zbiorze, Ziemia jest jak galaktyka z tak wieloma gwiazdami. Kiedy patrzymy w głąb wszechświata, widzimy galaktyki z setkami milionów gwiazd. Podobnie jest z planetą Ziemią. Niesie 7 miliardów pięknych gwiazd, które są duszą człowieka. Niesie z sobą duszę tak wielu trylionów zwierząt, roślin i wszystkiego innego. Jeśli więc patrzą ci, którzy nie widzą fizyczności Ziemi i jej zawartości, co widzą? Widzą galaktykę z wielką ilością pięknych, świecących świateł. Każda według swojej siły. Każda zgodnie ze swoją pozycją. Niemowlę ma piękną duszę, podobnie jak staruszek. Dla tych niefizycznych, którzy nie widzą fizycznego wymiaru tej planety, ale widzą siłę pola, jesteśmy gromadami gwiazd. Ludzka rasa, każda pojedyncza dusza, nikt z daleka nie widzi. To jest dusza rybaka, to jest dusza kosmologa, to jest dusza prezydenta. Wszystkie świecą bez względu na fizyczność. To jest magia. Oto, co nowa nauka musi przynieść człowiekowi. Kiedy patrzymy przez naszą duszę, widzimy tylko gwiazdy w innych duszach. I to jest przełom. To jest zrozumienie. Na tym właśnie polegają te wszystkie nauki. Dojście do dojrzałości następnego poziomu, aby zrozumieć daleki kosmos. Wszechświat jest ostrygą dla tych dusz, które służą. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy do wejścia w kosmos. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy, aby stać się częścią uniwersalnej społeczności, która została obiecana. Nigdy nie obiecywałem wam nieba. Zawsze obiecywałem wam elewację człowieka, aby przyłączył się do rodziny. A teraz macie klucz. To wy musicie otworzyć drzwi, aby zrozumieć, że mogę elewować duszę tych ludzi lub milionów innych dusz, że fizyczne życie na tej planecie zmieni się. Wtedy jestem godny bycia częścią społeczności uniwersalnej, by być, aby służyć, aby się rozwijać, by być tam, aby być częścią, że w cyklu życia wszechświata staje się w byciu częścią, staje się częścią totalności. Kiedy człowiek osiągnie ten punkt, pojawi się nowy wymiar w sile duszy człowieka, który jest poza wyobrażeniem zrozumienia życia fizycznego. To jest brama do otwarcia nowego życia w nowym wymiarze, co jest poza wyobrażeniem tego, co mogliście nazwać nowym początkiem, nowym cyklem, gdzie ten cykl niesie ze sobą źródło stworzenia życia we wszechświecie i unikosie. To jest elewacja duszy, aby służyć. Stała się kluczem. Nie tron życia fizycznego. Czas jest odpowiedni, nadszedł czas, aby człowiek przeszedł przez ten proces. Witamy wszystkich na 238. warsztacie poszukiwaczy wiedzy w języku polskim. Dzisiaj mamy czwartek, 28 luty 2019 rok i tematem jest kontynuacja 263 warsztatu poszukiwaczy wiedzy. Jest to fragment od 2 godzin 9 minut do 3 godzin i to jest koniec warsztatu. I następny warsztat będzie 264 i to jest od 8 minut do 49 minut. Tak więc zapraszam do obejrzenia, wysłuchania i jeżeli jeszcze zostanie nam trochę czasu lub w przerwie między dwoma warsztatami, to porozmawiamy. Tak więc uruchamiam film, także zapraszam do obejrzenia.
Any other question?
Well, I have a question, Mr. Keshe. We were discussing in the Keshe Plasma Reactor group yesterday Jupiter and the phenomenon of the eye in Jupiter, which is about twice the diameter of the Earth. And it's like sort of like a black hole in the gaseous giant of Jupiter, which is supposedly made up of monoatomic hydrogen and helium as basic gases that are also...
Can you repeat that, please?
We were talking about Jupiter and how it's a gaseous giant made of hydrogen and helium, basically, and these gases and whatever makes up Jupiter, it's got this eye in Jupiter where it's a giant sort of vortex that's been there for forever, apparently. And there's an idea or a theory that perhaps the Earth may have come from Jupiter, that it was essentially grown within Jupiter and ejected, because Jupiter is like a dwarf star that the scientists have found out recently, that actually ejects matter, like you're talking about with the black hole. And periodically this ejection of matter will happen. Did the Earth possibly come as a ejection of matter, or created within the womb, you might say, of Jupiter? I was putting that,
let's consider a lot of facts. First of all, the size of this huge orange ball has reduced by nearly 2/3 from the origin. Still there, but because cosmologists have plates from this planet from 150, 180 years ago, and all it's been kept. And now that they're measuring this orange ball, is about 30% of its origin 200 years ago. Is reducing in size. Physically,
wow,
we have data.
That tells me a lot, because we were looking at ancient Egypt, and if it could very well have been that Jupiter was the largest orb in the sky back then, and the sun, because the Earth was further from the sun would be smaller. So of course they would worship Jupiter, and Jupiter would have been the creator to them, because it would be the source, or what was in their face at least.
You see, we understand more now with, as I said, the science of man is an accumulation of all our works. Because I know a research team is working on this, and they actually went and dug out the plates which were taken in 1820s, 1830s, and they compared the size of this orange ball with today. And it's about 30% of that time. So it's losing its size. We have data, it's a scientific, we have physical observation on the plates, on the glass plates. You know, when in olden days you used to take the pictures of the galaxies on these plates, we have a physical. So we know it's reducing, but it has a characteristic. It creates and is created. It absorbs and releases. It is not necessarily the creator of Earth or all the planetary system, because, as they say now, the scientists have not understood. If you read the paper I've written about the ring of Saturn, you understand immediately. The center of every planet, even the gaseous planet, has a liquid plasma combination of the material and a surface, even be it at the liquid state or a solid state. These huge gaseous planets have a center, a solid center. A center, not in the inner center, we call it the outer core, not the cation core, has a physical dimension like the surface of the Earth. But because of the distance from the sun, the gravitational field forces of it is strong enough to absorb the lighter gases. And then when you absorb these light gases in a massive blanketing, they create their own dynamism. We've seen how the hurricanes on this planet created. And we see why is the direction of them all in the same line. We can say within 80 kilometers now where it's going to hit. But if you look at a wind, a hurricane is a dynamic magnetic field. So it's created by the interaction of the magnetic field of the planet in a given direction, directional rotation of the Earth and everything else. And so when you have so much, so big piled on top of each other, unless they don't solidify that and move, they create friction, they create a lot of motion, a lot of heat. But does not and cannot confirm. But at the same time, because of their dynamism, they absorb energy, they absorb hydrogen, carbon, and in a gravitational magnetic field of their own strength, they create a matter state. They convert the energy the way we become rock and stones, but as it cannot hold to the gravitational field, become heavier than itself, it gets pushed out. And they say it creates a star. We understand the process now fully. And it takes time to absorb. It takes time to grind it together. You know, you put a bunch of flour into the mixer and you put some water in it, and at the beginning it's a lot of dust. But when it rotates enough, you got a solid dough. It's the same process.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking about in terms of Jupiter, especially because you've got these enormous winds that are blowing at hundreds of kilometers an hour in opposition to each other. And imagine the turbulence and friction that's involved there, which is part of your patent. The original description was of an orb, like you think of Jupiter as a reactor. It contains the hydrogen and helium that are the critical ingredients in the original reactor. It contains the turbulence. It contains the gravitational and magnetic fields that are interacting. And it's got this big black hole in the middle that, to me, it's all churning up and creating matter and periodically ejecting. I think, it makes sense that that might happen. At least stars do that, and dwarf stars are close to the size of Jupiter, apparently. So I think, why wouldn't Jupiter do that in its previous time when it was bigger and possibly was an actual dwarf star, or is?
Jupiter is created out of the field of the sun. It's not from outside.
Well, it's interesting that I read that the core of Jupiter, they estimate to be over 24,000 degrees Celsius, which is hotter than the surface of the sun. But yet the surface of Jupiter is minus 200. So imagine the gradient there, and you can see why it would
actually. Let me put you right. The temperature on the surface of the Sun and Jupiter is created from the interaction of the fields above their surface, not by the inner core. Very soon you will see this. And now that we've gone into operation of the non-motorized systems, very soon you will see how we create heat, but the inside is plastic and holds onto the plasma of the gas. So what they say is a nonsense. Then the plastic has to melt and the gas should be on the floor. I can create you 1,000,000-degree temperature in the middle of the air by dynamic motion of the right gases, now that we are separated from levitation of the copper and the dynamic cores. These are getting tested. These are the systems which are already they are not theoretical. Systems have been made. They are going through the test. And still we have some copper connections through magnetic fields. Those in the next step will be taken off. It's like, you know, remember olden days, you're a mechanic, huh? We had these things we used to turn the engine on. What do you call them? The handles? The
Crank.
cranes? Yeah, the crank we used to use. At the moment we are in a crank position. Once we come in the dimension of full, total, non-motorized system, what we are now in a non-motorized system, but non-matter state systems, in next maybe 2 or 3 months, as our scientists understand more and more, then we can create any energy level. We do not need any heating elements in the house to keep at 24 degrees. A couple of research centers are moving in that direction. I'm guiding them. They are slowly getting there. So the interaction of the fields at the inertial level dictates the temperature, not at the magnetic gravitational fields at the center of the core. You can walk in the center of the Sun. The way you have, you built one of the first GANS reactors, Rick. Is it melting? But if you create a right interaction of other fields and call it its atmosphere, you can create any heat. The heat on the surface of the Sun is in the book number 4. I wish I would have never met that guy that they stopped me from publishing. It's explained the temperature of the surface of the Sun, it shows so high, doesn't mean the center is high. It's because the interaction of the field strength of the center is so much that it travels through no field strength. So there's not that much field interaction. On the surface, it hits a block, it hits a matter state of itself. And then it releases energy at these high temperatures and the field radiation. This is how the stars release their temperature. The center of the stars, if you understand the totality of the physics, is room temperature, if you want to call it. Some of them is as cold as ice. But the interaction fields which they create gravitationally, there are packs of energies. In interaction with other packs of energy, they release a field, very strong fields. Man does not understand cold field energy yet. We are looking at high field energy, hot energy packs, we look at it. Cold field energies are much more stronger than hot field energies when they release, because they elevate in such a temperature. Some of the scientists at the moment are looking in a negative temperature gradients to create energy and heat. They are doing it because now they start understanding a little bit. It's the same process in universal condition. When the fields are released, the difference is so high that in interaction with the matter state of the condition, which is the gravitational field and magnetic field balance, which creates what we call the surface boundary, which is like the surface of the Earth, then in interaction with those of reduction themselves create heat. A lot of misunderstanding of this knowledge comes from man looking at magma. Why do we have such a high temperature? Because we have a very strong field, but it's more or less as a cold field temperature, not as a hot field temperature. And when it heats, the matter state of the inner core of the Earth, it melts it. It has to release so much energy. Look at it. If you understand it in reverse, we go what? 10 kilometers above in the plane, they tell you outside temperature is minus 50 degrees. We are going closer to the sun, but we get colder. When we come close to the Earth, temperature starts building for certain meters. And after that, the temperature drops while you're so colder on top of the mountains. Because at a given temperature is the interaction of the fields with the inertia and the magnetic field of the center of the planet, which creates the heat. And we are an obstacle. So we touch it, it touches us, it touches the magnetic field, dynamic field flow, what we call the air, and we get the temperature. This is what I said, that the physics of the science of the physics of man is so upside down, it's been accepted so much fallacy, that because we see it on the ice, we accepted what happens in the gravitational magnetic field. It does not. Earth used to be the sign of Jupiter when it was in that orbit. You put any other star which comes from the outer boundaries of the space of the solar system, you get a Jupiter. It's a rubbish collector, it's a light field cloud or gravitational magnetic field collector. Everything which goes, it gets absorbed. It's just the biggest function, it gets bigger and bigger, till its own weight gets pulled by the gravitational field of the sun, and it then gradually slips in. The sun used to be in the place of Jupiter, and it was big, same as it. If the scientists look in the full structure of the Earth, which we have not understood, the high-level magnetic fields, we see the same structure. It's just the field, magnetic field, gravitational field of the sun pulls some of the gases to itself, and some of it in interaction goes back. If we didn't have the Jupiter, the temperature of this solar system was not as it is today. It becomes a cooking pot. This planet, gaseous planet, absorb all these particles to themselves. I remember when I was a young boy, my mom called my sister, I'm coming home, can you clean up the house? And I have a sister with a beautiful humor, sense of humor. Usually you pack the clothes and put it in the cupboard. She decided she's going to wear the clothing, all of it she could get on herself. And she was a big balloon in the house. My mom came and says, what's happening? She says, you said clean the house, you didn't tell me where to put it. So I wore everything on me. She was 3-4 times her size. And this is what happens with the outer planet. They absorb everything and they get bigger and bigger. Without them, the solar system becomes a cooking pot. Because the reflection of the clouds warms up the inside. When it's a cloudy day, you don't get that much cold. When in the winter, He said, no clouds is when you get the frost. It's the same process. We have not understood the total real physicality, the principle of the creation of the solar system. We used to be in that place. And how much did we spew? Or we accept the fallacy that the meteorite hit the moon, the earth, and part was blown out and it became the moon. Ding, ding. We see a bunch of scientists still pushing a lot of these fallacies in cosmology and physics, in astrophysics. And these have to be taken out of the front line because new scientists are standing more and coming up. The young scientists, very young scientists in their 20s, 30s, are literally understanding and coming up with true facts. They can physically make the condition. But most of them are still working in the matter state. If you show them the field's strength as a gravitational magnetic field, understand even their matter state is a collection of the matter condition magnetic field strength, you see the world of science changes. We see a bunch of very new, few hundred new talents are coming in, but most of them are still connected to matter state. Then we understand the totalities. It's obvious. You can now understand the process, all the biggest stuff. Earth most probably has spewed many, many meteorites. Many of the meteorites come out of these big giant planets. When they spew out, they create a new one. So go on down. It gets absorbed by the gravitational field of the sun, and there we go. We got the bullets coming down. If you're lucky, you can miss. If you missed it, you're happy. If you don't miss, you got hit. Goodbye, dinosaurs. Now we understand most of, and as long as you understand one fact, that even a matter state is a gravitational magnetic of given its strength, then you can see everything the way it works.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. We have Peter Salisher here with his hand up. Perhaps we can get a question from him. Would you like to go ahead, Peter? You have to unmute your microphone. I'm not seeing him unmuting. I can try to unmute you and see if that works. No, it didn't. Okay, well, we'll have to, when you get your microphone situated there, Peter, then let us know. And Gunther had his hand up briefly. Do you want to, did you want to speak, Gunther?
Yes, good morning. I wrote my question in the chat, and this was the question. In the past, we had so many...
Let us know who you are, where from, please.
Gunther Blum, my name. I'm from Austria. I'm also in the school, and I have one question about what you said, the sun and the meteorites and the effect of the meteorites reflecting through the sun. In the past on the Earth, we had so many atom explosions. What effect do those explosions had through the sun to the other planets, to the universes?
What do you mean? Can you explain?
Every atom explosion throws out a lot of fields.
Oh, you mean atomic explosion tests?
Atom bomb
Sorry.
he's talking about.
Atom bombs, yeah.
Sorry, yeah, atomic bombs. And my question is, what is the effect of those rays or those fields, those waves going out to the sun, to the planets, to the universes? Is this maybe also the reason why the change is coming?
Very, very little. You got to understand, even though we glorify the planet Earth, it's a speck of dust. And you can imagine if a speck of dust comes from a speck of dust, you don't expect to touch the sun or Jupiter much. But essentially, what has been looked at by nuclear industry and weapon technology and the characteristics of the nuclear bombs, atomic bomb testing, underground and overground, has been affecting the atmosphere of the planet Earth. There are some theoretical physicists in the world of atomics and weapon technology, which they still consider we still have remnants of Hiroshima bomb still falling back on Earth. Are they correct? Possibly. Has some flown so high that now they're getting back absorbed by the Earth back into it? Maybe. The creation of what they call the warming up of the planet is nothing to do with CO2, it's nothing to do with burning of the gases. Is in fact has certain other different reasons, and secondly is due to we are going through evolution. What do you call it? Darwin wrote about the evolution of man or animals or beings. The Earth is going through its own evolution. It's moving house. Is going through its own condition, is closing closer to the orbit of the sun. So we will see changes. We will see the total loss of the water on this planet in the coming time. We see the planets which are ahead of us closer to the sun. They don't happen to be that. They used to have liquid. That's why we see rivers on them. We see ocean surfaces on them. So partially, the loss of what they're trying to call it global warming is actually what you call process that we are going through, because we see temperature differences between the poles in the gravitational magnetic field strength. So in so many ways, accidentally, whatever we done by extracting so much liquid from the inner sanctum of this planet, we have created the release of the higher gravitational magnetic field strength. That this allows the higher temperatures to reach higher levels. You got to understand, global warming does not come scientifically, if you understand it, from burning of the fuel, is coming from the cavities of this planet, which they used to be. Oil is heavy. It absorbs much more of the fields which are coming from the center. And now we are pulling 85 million barrels a day out. We are replacing in some places with water. What do you do when you want to create a heat transfer reduction? If you put water, the temperature goes up straight away. You put a heavier, thicker material, you absorb most of it. The oil industry is one of the main causes of the change, the heat extension, not the burning in the car. They have made a lot of fallacies about this. I come from an oil industry background. I've studied this very carefully. You're very simple. You get a bowl and put in one side of it another bowl with oil in it, and you put another side with water in it, and you put a light inside or heat inside, see which one gets warmer outside quicker. Partially, the burning, the release of what you call carbon dust, as we call it, CO2 dust, has created some, what you call it, closing out the fields. As I was explaining about Jupiter, if it doesn't absorb. We don't have anything that can absorb these so much. But most of the what we call global warming is pointed out to the wrong place. It's come from the same as we heard from ex-American Vice President Al Gore. It's because of the ignorance. What did he say in the international global warming? We see the loss of the penguins because the bears are eating them. And somebody told him, Mr. Dobbs, excuse me, sir, bears are in the North Pole and penguins are in the South Pole. How could it be? This is what we are causing a global warming, but not necessarily from the burning of the fuel, is by extraction of the oil. We are taking blankets out. More fields are radiated out. And these fields are creating warm surfaces. These fields creating more, have a higher order which interact with the higher atmosphere with these dust which we create. A lot of things has to be put in order. The main cause of scientific understanding global warming, you call it, yes, it is oil, but not the oil we burn, it's the oil we extract. It's only few meters, few kilometers. I traveled into Siberian area years ago, trying to ascertain what do you call it, oil fields in Siberia, in the Russian territory. And I was taken 1 o'clock in the morning by people who knew in the oil fields of Siberia where the Russians have drilled a number of holes 10 kilometers into the earth. And instead of the oil, we hit 96.5 degrees water, purest water we could ever find. And we thought, oh, now drinking water is fashionable. Shall we start making a water plant here? And in that time, we studied the geology of the land and how part of Russia in the Siberian area and part of this area are getting warmer than the others. And when you look at partially the geology of extraction of the oil, you get this. And in some cases, you create such a diversity that now we're getting snow in Africa, North African countries. The extraction of the oil is introducing huge new phenomena in heating of the planet, not the burning of the fuel as such. And secondly, when we talk about the, what do you call it, exhaust emission of the cars, they have to be controlled. If you understand the shipping industry, most of the pollution, air pollution or CO2 carbon warming or global warming, as they say, comes from the ship liners, not from the cars. They use the worst downgrade fuel, which is full of rubbish and releases huge amounts into the atmosphere. You've got to put a few million cars together to cover one of these tankers when they ship from China goods to Asia or to America or to Europe.
Yeah, that's right. It's estimated one of those one of the ships that bring the cars over puts out more pollution than all the cars for their entire life.
Yeah. I come from the oil industry background. Part of my empire is oil business, and I understand. I studied always this structure.
And you're right. It's up to 50 million cars equivalent air pollution from one super tanker.
Yeah, well, nobody speaks to it about it because it's on the sea. We don't see it. Look at the pollution which is coming up with what they call these green cars. We are burning more fuel in the coal fields. I wish those who understand tell these people, please give fuel for the cars to burn in the cars, because the fuels burned in the power stations to get the electricity produced that reaches the city is 30 to 50 times more than the car would consume to do. This green engine, what do you call it, electric cars, if we can tap into the solar systems like solar cells, what you call solar panels, if we can increase the number of windmills, if we can increase the combination plasma technology which we brought, the hybrid system, if we go into the direction which our research centers are going with charging batteries without any fuel, then yes, battery cars, electric cars are a positive use. But if you are burning tons of coal and oil in the power stations to deliver them to load, you got to consider all the heat conversion exchanges, all the power losses on the grid, and everything else. It's better to give the fuel to the cars so they can burn it. It's a new industry they have created because we're going to have a number of huge problems with electric cars coming up. The use of titanium, use of copper, these things need a lot of electric components and they're all matter state. Even the batteries, the equation is not in the right way. They don't talk about it. So, nuclear bombs, nuclear explosions, with all the dust they've created, is literally even less smaller than a speck of dust. But do they release some materials? They have done. We trace them. It's like from Fukushima, we still get traces all over the world. We still have, as I've said many times before, we still have farms in North Wales in England which cannot be even walked through. because of the fallout of Chernobyl. When we got hit by Chernobyl, part of the British nuclear industry had a huge problem in identifying where these things are landing. If you go to North Wales in the mountains, you see sections which are pinned down because when the radiation came down, it rained down with the rain and it's embedded in the soil. And it's in the mountains. They can't do anything, they just pinned it and it's isolated. It's going to be there 200 or 300 years till it goes through this half cycle and partially get washed into the ground. So we have some effect, but not that much. It's very, very minute. The biggest source of nuclear material fallout is from these oil tankers. In the environmental protection of what we call environmental part of the Keshe Foundation, which we are very active, it's not known publicly, we look at something very serious. If you live in Europe, and most probably in America and other places becoming compulsory, if you want to close a petrol station, you have to remove the soil up to 6 meters in depth from the land. And it has to be tested, and when you get a certification that the soil is clean, then you can build on it, you can fill it up. What's the reason? Why do we take all this has to be cleaned up? Why the fuel petrol stations, the tanks have to be all done? Nowadays you have to get certificate every year for fuel tank. If you have an underground fuel tank, you need the certification, otherwise you cannot fill it in, because if there is a leakage, it goes into the ground. Why? Because in the oil industry, due to all the problems with it, we do not purify uranium. It's something which is allowed to go into the fuel. Where does it come? In a fuel station, you tank it, it pours on the ground. We have a huge uranium contamination. When you walk in the fuel station and there was some spillage, you're walking on the liquid uranium. You don't know how many copies. I can show you documents for it. That's why we clean the land. But the problem is, at the end of it, the tankers which Rick was just talking about, all those have the most heaviest one. They're spewing uranium into the atmosphere like nothing. Christmas firework. Part of the contamination is the oil industry, that because you have to understand how oil is created. Oil is created according to the rubbish about the fallacies that came out, that is from the oil of the dinosaurs. You are Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers. You all have produced CO2, and what did you get on the top? Oil. You get that film of amino acid. Earth has within its oceans the copper, the zinc, and the energy of thunder and everything else which goes through it. The sea salt continuously absorbs, extracts a part of the system of life of this planet, extracts protein from the atmosphere. Interaction of the field of the earth and the sun creates them. The surface of the sun absorbs them. That's why we see life in the planet, because CO2 was created on it. Because of the presence of zinc, carbon, amino acid created on it. Then you have iron, the blood was created on it. That's how we have all the planktons. So part of this, as is created, does not convert into a cell of animal. There are not enough fishes to eat it, as we say. So due to the storms and everything, circulation, these amino acids in millions of tons every day land onto the bottom of the ocean. And in the process, as they sink, they wash with them gold, uranium, plutonium, whatever you like, into till they come to stop with the heat of the earth. It just cooks up. This dinosaur never dies. And oil will never end on this planet. Those fields which we have emptied from oil continuously get filled up, because in that position it creates a condition for absorption. These are reserve tanks which would produce 80 million barrels a day. There is no end to the production of the oil on this planet, unless we go beyond the limitation of the use, which we have a long way to go yet. So now when we extract, it's like, you put all sorts of oil, and you put sugar, and you put salt and everything else you like into a sand and wash it. We use it as a filter. What happens? It gets clogged up somewhere, and it all collects, because that's why we have filters. So these filters, these oil filters which are created, are filters, they get clogged up here. So in there we have everything. When we extract oil from the ground, we have gold in it, silver in it, plutonium in it, and everything, uranium. We've been told, and the refining industry has foolishly, due to all the nuclear fears, has no filter for uranium extraction. Very few fuel stations have, the refineries have. It's expensive handling it, and then it's all nuclear material. Nobody wants to talk about it. We don't handle it. We extract gold from the oil. We extract plutonium, rare earth materials in the specific refineries from this oil. The oil industry, the oil used in the cars, is a burden on the oil industry. The money sits in refining rare earth material from the black liquid. But we do not touch uranium. Anything nuclear, which we know is nuclear, has no filter for it. Where does it go? In the black stuff with the ships burn. In the oil which you take, 46 to 47.5% of barrel is fuel oil. Very simple. So if you have worries about nuclear bombs and whatever, the fallout is on top of every super tanker you see lands in your city. While it's in there, is spewing out enough uranium that the Hiroshima hasn't produced yet. These are facts about new cycle of production of materials and the comfort we have chosen. We have closed our eyes to a lot of it, our governments too, because we have no solution. If I was somebody with a lot of wisdom, I produce now, America is supposed to use 13 million barrels of oil very soon, by 2020 per day. I think you can extract at least something in the region of maybe 1 ton, 2 tons of uranium a day from, if your refineries are filtered the right way. We don't need Chad to buy uranium coke. This is because our leaders do not understand the science of creation. They don't understand the science of protection, which is put on the wrong way around. And in a way, our body has got used to it because part of our evolution comes through the nuclear material we absorb in our food and the air we breathe.
That's interesting, Mr. Keshe. Perhaps we should be extracting the uranium and throwing away the oil, putting it back in the ground.
But what do we do with it?
You'd probably get as much energy from that uranium than from the oil, because it's about 1 million times more.
What do we do with uranium? We don't have any. These are stable elements of uranium. Very little radioactive. If you go into EU rules and regulations of fuel stations and read it, you understand why. These things are well explained into the laws of the European Community, that all the lands, or what do you call it, fuel stations which are getting shut down have to be cleaned to a certain level, and the soil has to be washed. And I'll put a question to it. The Keshe Foundation has one of the eminent scientists in environmental clinic, and I respect the guy a lot. He's a funny guy. But I discussed this with him. We were in a lab when they were testing the soil from oil fuel station. And the strange thing is, they said, here we are looking for uranium. We are not looking for anything else. How much is contaminated? This is hidden in names and regulations of the EU regulations. The EU has a very tight regulation about cleaning up the uranium of fuel stations.
Well, it's a similar problem in terms of North America. If you look at where the fertilizers come from for the crops in North America, and it comes from the scrubbers of the natural gas power plants. So they take the nitrates and other heavy metals and everything else from the scrubbers, and because it's radioactive and heavy metals, they decided they can't have it all in one place from these scrubbers, so they better include it in the fertilizers and spread it evenly over the land. And that way it'll just blend in with the
down
radiation, and yes, basically just wash it down in the soil. But the fallacy there is it builds up in the soil after many decades of doing this. So now it starts to build up the radioactivity in the soil and other heavy metals and so on.
One of the advantages, and now is actually, as I explained, if you were in some of the recent teachings, some of the advantages of the plasma technology in agriculture in not using fertilizers is cleaning up the land, or actually pushing the dirt deeper down that it doesn't get into the food chain. What it is, because we use the GANS material for what do you call it, for the growth of the agriculture products, then there is no need for fertilizers. And this gives a breathing space for these materials to be washed in deeper layers of the planet. And in 3 to 5 years, we see the top 10, 20 centimeters will be cleaned up of all the nitrites and all the radioactive material, because it's literally like the way I explained the oil. is washing everything down till they come to a cap. They get washed by the rain gradually, and they go deeper and deeper. This is one of the positives we are putting to governments, and they can test it. They can test the soil year by year and see reduction in it. But I explained to them, test the first 15, 20 centimeter, because in the 20 centimeter, you don't see that much this year, but next year you see more. But on the first 5 centimeter, you see less, because we are washing it down. Conservation of energy, conservation of matter cannot be fooled and avoided. All we are doing is we're pushing it further down. Gradually, over centuries, it'll end up in another oil field. It's the same situation. The biggest worry at the moment in Western Europe, especially in Holland, in what do you call it, Luxembourg area, and in nations like Italy, is the waste from the cows, which are given so much antibiotic, and these antibiotics comes out, some of it at the other end, and it gets spread over the ground, and then it becomes part of the food chain, and we're becoming immune to it. We're spiritually feeding the cows. And as they said, always as a joke, they say, I am a vegetarian. I only eat the cow which eats vegetables, so I'm still a vegetarian. But this time, we are getting the antibiotics in our system. It's coming from the land because the spread, there's a regulation, especially in Europe, how much you can spread over the land. They use it to the maximum limit, and they give in Holland and in Italy, there is no land mass to leave the animals alone on the fields. They are grown in confined environments, and confined environments with the temperature creates infection. And on average, every European animal which is kept in-house, the size of a cow, or a pig, uses €1 per week of antibiotics. Just ask how many million cows are in Europe. Then you get a good figure how much antibiotic we are eating, which what gets spread on the land. This is why the pharmaceutical industry is very powerful in Europe. Human beings don't use that much. I think their total balance income is maybe 20, 30%, 60, 70% comes in certain nations out of animal care. It's the way we grow animals, we grow food to eat. In Italy, it's about €1 per week. We know because we are involved in the process with the government. In Holland, it's slightly more. In the Scandinavian countries, we have the same problem because of the cold. They're mainly kept in confinements, and that heat and flesh and everything else creates environmental conditions which creates, infection. You just count how many pigs are in Northern Europe and put €1 in front of each. Then you see where pharmaceuticals make their money. Not from the aspirin and the penicillin they sell you. They have a permanent patients called cow.
Mr. Keshe, I want to remind you that there's a presentation from Joel, apparently, with Ursula translating, and Pete has arranged that. That would be good to hear from.
Yes, no problem. How long would that be?
Pete, do you have an answer on that, or Ursula, or Joel?
Well, we always advise to keep it sort of within 20 minutes and then allow for questions and answers. But obviously, it's up to the author how long it's going to take them to present. No problem. Go ahead. Are they
Mr.
ready?
Keshe. Yeah, Mr. Keshe,
Yes.
good morning. Morning to all of you. I apologize in advance for my English level and my
Mamy koniec tłumaczenia tego warsztatu 263. Nie wiem, mamy już godzinę 17, tak więc może obejrzymy ten drugi i wtedy jak ktoś będzie chciał, to może zabrać głos i coś dopowiedzieć do tego. Tak więc zapraszam do obejrzenia drugiego warsztatu, następnego. 264.
The 264 continuous teaching, and as usual, we have moved into a new direction and new dimensions of teaching. Many things in teaching has to be understood, and we try to explain more and more the fundamental bits which has been left out of the science, and with it we solve a lot of problems, and on the other hand we see how we can add to the knowledge of us collectively about us, opening the universal community to us that we can work. If you remember a few teachings ago, I brought up the subject of the new science of holography, and that they say there is a flat surface and then it shows everything is like a mirage. There is something which I did not tell you because I thought maybe some of you go and do some research and do some work, and to see how we are back into land of fairy tale, how we are back into land of assuming to make assumptions, and by those assumptions create another cycle of hypocrisy in the world of science. And if they pay us, we can good enough, we can make it work, it that we can make something out of it. I don't know if any of you went and looked into the background of holography. They said the reason for it is going to be acceptable because the mathematics adds up. What they mean is when you can build a mathematical structure and the mathematical equations adds up with what you assume, then it's correct. But if many of you who have gone and looked, I hope, in the depth of the holographic, that's saying that the universe is flat, again there's another lie, another deception, another assumption has been made, and that is for the mathematical equations to add up, we had to do the reverse of what Einstein did, and what many scientists, when they cannot get it right, make assumptions, or they delete it, very much like the MC squared. That for Einstein to get to that ridiculous equation of E energy is equal mass times the speed of light by the power of 2, he's made a lot of assumptions. He's made a lot of assumptions in quantum, even in quantum mechanics, even in part of this equation covers first and second law of dynamics and everything else. But what these people did, which a lot of people are not aware of, they made a reverse assumption. And this is ridiculous. This is very nice the way they've done. The people who came up with holography, they make one amazing assumption: to be existing. Up to now, Einstein and the rest ignored it. They said this doesn't exist. But what they do, they assume there's something called dark energy, which is gravitational field forces holds the whole structure together. And for an assumption, and especially such a massive calculation to be correct as they assume it, they come up with something interesting, that they say the whole structure of this holographic design of the universe is held together by gravitational field forces or energy, which calls it dark energy, and it exists. But up to today, no scientific organization with billions of dollars they have put behind it has managed to confirm the existence of dark energy. And this is the whole ridiculous thing about it. Up to now, people like Einstein, they said, we assume this doesn't exist, we assume this is not there. But in holography, the way they play the trick is they assume something exists, which is opposite to all the conditions that we call dark energy, dark matter, in a way, if you look at it. And this dark energy creates that gravitational field force which holds this holographic condition of the universe together. So now what we call the hand of the magic is open. And this gravitational wave, or this what we call magnetic fields, or this gravitational fields that they assume exist and is there, and they call it in a way dark energy, is very much in the world of scientific, what I call children movies. Somebody must have watched these things and then he has come up with it. And they use the same process, the same structure, the same lies and cheats as we've seen with Stephen Hawking, we've seen with Einstein, but this time they repeat the game. And they consider that the universe, our universe, is full of these things, like dark energy, dark matter, and has a hidden gravitational glue which holds the whole structure of this holograph together. So those of you who start hearing and understanding what is going on, you have to see the hand of the magic. The magic is something which we don't have, and we work this time opposite to understanding of the gravitational field force which exists but we don't see it, and all our assumption is that this glue is there. But in so many ways, the whole understanding of this dark energy or dark matter, as they call it, has not been found. So as long as it's not there, I can guess anything I like, very much as a friend of mine used to say, I can guess anything and I can own anything as much as I can dream about it. Doesn't mean the reality exists. So you have to be aware of this holographic situation which is coming up, and they are bringing all sorts of mathematical things behind it, spending billions of dollars on it. And in a way, be aware that now the scientific world to make names and new conditions to destructive physics is come up with a new trick. Now we assume it in, but we don't know where it is. Up to now, Einstein assumed it's not there. He deleted a lot of things. A lot of understanding of the physics, and scientific-minded people can very easily see this through, and you can literally dismiss this theory. I always say, even to my children, is you have children who have a bad understanding of mathematics. They hate mathematics. And the worst thing you can do to them is a large percentage of, especially girls, is anything to do with maths. My advice to you as parents, or if you're one of those children who listen, do exactly what you do with holographic principles and with holographic universe, as they call it. Go and read about the history of maths. And you'll find out it's one of the sweetest things you could ever done. Then you see where the mistakes are and what you understand of it, and how this mathematics has built up. One of the best things BBC, British Broadcasting Company, has done, has made a program called History of Mathematics, or History of Maths. Get it for your children and let them read it, listen to it. It's a beautiful thing. The most complicated equations, integration, differentiation, and anything below and above it, if they understand the history of it, how it's built, how it's come, it allows them not to believe fallacies which other people trying to build into it. And you'll find out your children, or if you are somebody who doesn't like mathematics, you fall in love with maths. Same as physics. Why scientists or edge of science don't accept these fallacies which we see coming up with these new ideas? Because we understood the physics from basic. We understand the principle of creation. We understand the operation of the universe. So no magician can come up. If you look at my teachings for the past decade, I always give you, and I show you, and I take you for you to make it, to see it, to understand it. And when you don't understand it, that's the limitation of your comprehension of the science. Maybe you stay in that position for years till one day becomes clear, and then you move on. And sometimes you stay in that position and you build it to the next step. So if you can go in understanding of this mathematics, start from the history. Where did we start? Going from a line to a square. Why did we start marking the land on a square meter? What's the history behind it? And then why did we make cubes? And then built on. Read about the history of maths. And if you read about the history of physics, putting anything which is assumption aside, then you see when these fallacies come up, how you can overcome it. Then you see through it. As I said, these are the followers of Stephen Hawking. A liar has created more liars. And they all have to hold on together, because as long as we all lie, we're all truth, because we all liars together. And a lot of this holographic theory relies on works of people like Stephen Hawking's black hole. It didn't exist, now exists now. They have come up with the dark matter and dark energy and the rest. There is a fundamental understanding in the world of science. As I said, I take mankind to the point of understanding the totality. And if you read book 1 or book 2 or book 3, you should have understood something very fundamental. And that is, we are all in our age have come through a number of symbolic names. But what do we understand about the history of these symbolic names? What is the truth? And how do these entities exist? What is the measure of them? What's the reason of existence of them? Why they are the same on Earth than they're on the moon? And when we follow what we created, we see the same entity ends up and exists on Saturn and in other matters of the galaxy. One of these things which has been and never been explained in the world of science, especially in the world of physics, because I always say the creation started from the motion of the magnetic fields. Fields like lines, they're just straight things, till they interact with another field and create friction of fields, and then they become created vortexes, they create friction, they create residual, and then we come into the world of physics. And then the physics in 2 or 3 physical things in the energy level, gravitational magnetic field level interact, we get the chemistry, and then more of them becomes biology. But one fundamental point that we all have accepted, any of us, most of us, we consider all the people who are listeners of the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers. You've been somewhere, you've heard somewhere about electrons, about protons, about neutrons. I refer to it freely. I'm a nuclear physicist. It's my blood, it's my essence. I feel a nucleus. I can see the motion and emotion within it. It's like a glider. He can feel the direction of the wind. He flies into it. He plays with it. He flies across it. Doesn't exist, but he feels, he has a sensation of the motion of the field. A nuclear physicist who understands the science is very much the same. But we fly within the structure of a nucleus. We feel the motion of the fields. And when you do this, and when you teach the world of nuclear, the world of science of plasma, will leave many people behind because they don't have that finesse, they don't have understanding. To them, it's just an electron, they say something, and then you have a proton and a neutron and whatever. There's a fundamental question to ask from the scientists at this point of, at this conjuncture of science, and that is, and this is a question I put to many nuclear physicists, and it's a question I have put into many world scientists, and nobody has managed to answer. And when I explain it to my understanding, unravels the secrets of creation. And that is, we say in the world of you knowledge seekers coming here, that we have an electron, we have a proton, and if I ask you what is an electron and a proton, many of us are baffled with it. And in so many ways, if we can work in the dimension of the existence by size-wise, what we will see is a very interesting point. We have a scientist, if you come across some people who studied atomic structure, nuclear structure, in so many ways we do not see this. This is illusion, but we know of its existence because of other things which we do, and we know this correct. This nucleus. Magnetic field boundary of two entities entering and interacting. The balanced field between these two, which is somewhere here, which is very much equal, very much equal to the energy of the electron, creates new dynamic. And this is why an atom exists. This is why an atomic structure exists. And if we understand the history of creation of life in the universe, when we say we have an electron, a proton, and a neutron, if you understand that is the neutron which is divided into two, proton and electron, then you understand very simply, this guy here has an electron and a proton energy in it. When it comes to balance, and with this, it creates the point of interaction. And that's why we have an atomic structure. There is an electron balance between these two, which is in a way in opposite field flow as the electron which was created by the division of the other. And this is the first time we can understand how, when we say an atom of deuterium exists, scientifically we understand why. But there is a next step in the world of physics. The reason I explained these this way this week is because when it comes to building your gateways, your portals, your motion of your soul and flotation in the dimension of universe, if you do not understand this, you come to be in a big problem. But up to now, no one has ever explained the phenomena, the understanding and the history of creation of the physical structure, and how these physical structures lead to creation of elements, and how these elements stay in the field dimension, or they stay in a matter state depending on the inertia mass of their environment. But now that we understand how atomic structure created, now we understand in a further point how multiple, what we call molecular atomic, is created. This is deuterium. What about when we go to the next step and we add 2 neutrons and 2 protons? Then now we see how the electrons manifest themselves. And when we go to multi-molecular atomic, beyond 2 and 3 neutrons and 2 and 3 protons, we see why it jumps to another, what we call secondary ring, S1 and S2 and everything else which the scientific world that explains. Because now with, if you look at the first one, the one single proton and one single electron had a space gap of this much. But now look at the space gap. Because these all have to accommodate themselves magnetic gravitationally. The equation changes. So these move further. And then the more and more you add, the field expands. The size and the dimension expands. Now for the first time we understand the world of creation as a bundles of magnetic fields which they try to accommodate each other, and then the screen widens. The volume of all these widens, and all these are dynamic. They don't stay in one position. They move continuously to accommodate the other guy which is moving, plus the fields which are lost and gained to the environment by each one. So the dynamism starts. Then you find out in some cases the matching electron protons need a bigger space gap because they are entangled. You get the lock, you cannot move. You find the space gaps with neutrons comes in. And then what you get, so many protons of what they used to be 5 plus 5 of each, and you created the atomic mass and number. Now you get 5 plus 6 of the other. And the number of neutrons start increasing and increasing, but you find different dimensions and different isotopes or whatever. But all this understood, as I said, you missed the game again. The magician played the game. No. World of science, no scientist up to this point has put this question, which I put to my professors and many of my colleagues in the world of nuclear and atomic some 40 years ago. It was put aside because we could not answer it. But now that we have entered the world of existence, the world of universal community, the world of universal transportation, we cannot put it aside anymore. And the world of science, the world of physics, the scientific world has to answer this question. And that is, we accepted the theory of electron, a proton, and a neutron. And in any combination of the mass of this, we add up in blocks with maybe somewhere addition of another neutrons or neutrons combination. On Earth we get zinc, on Moon we get zinc, on planet Zeus we get zinc in this universe. But the unanswered question I put to all of you to think. That is, why all the electrons have the same size and gravitational magnetic field approximately? Why all the neutrons have the same, and why protons have the same? How come a neutron created out of the splitting of another structure, which itself now is the mother, which now splits into another electron and a proton, creates the same size, mass, energy electron in every dimensions of this universe? There is no God sitting there scaling, yes, this is the size of electron energy, we keep it there. Yes, this is the size of the proton energy, we keep it there. Yes, this is a neutron, and that's it. There is nobody has made a big door and cuts it. What dictates, and this is a question which I put for 40 years to the world of physics, maybe today you find the answer, is what dictates the size of an electron, the amount of mass of energy in an electron, the size and the mass in this planet, in the planet Zeus, in the galaxy of mass of proton. And they're all near enough, roughly by about 10% up and down the same. There is no scale, there is no cutting machine in the universe. What phenomena dictates this amount to be electron? And whenever you split a neutron, you get this, and it comes on its own, and it comes with a proton. And the most fundamental question to ask in the world of physics is, who has dictated, what dictates the mass, the size, and the amount of energy of a neutron, which is more or less within 10 to 15% gravitational magnetic field mass across this universe? The world of science has never answered this. And this is why physics is something beyond the reach of many people, because the fundamental cornerstones of the creation of this knowledge has never been explained, never been understood to be explained. Mathematicians come up with all sorts of formulas, but what is the formula of an electron? What is the structure that an electron on Earth is the same as an electron in mass, energy, motion, and speed as
I think we lost Mr. Keshe temporarily there, so there's
haven't lost
oh,
here.
okay.
Back. Yes, somebody muted and put me back in again somewhere. So
Oh,
what?
your whiteboard, you need to share your whiteboard again, Mr. Keshe.
Yes. So what we have to understand in the world of physics, in the world of creation, is what is this, what has not been explained to us. What is the volume? What is the mass of one electron? How come electrons are all of the same anywhere in the universe? In this universe, where in other universes of the universe, there could be different. And the size of and the energy of and the speed of could be slightly different for those universes which are closest to the Creator. In the world of physics, the physicians, what I call the fathers of the physics, when they explained there is something called the electron, they just left it. No one has ever opened it. Nobody has ever discussed it. And blindly we have accepted it. Now that we come into the work of the universal language, understanding, and the energy, the amount of fields which is within one electron, if you understand the connection of it to the other electrons and other protons and other neutrons in this universe, then you ask a simple question, which I put to the leading physicists and nuclear physicists years ago. And that is, we are not asking what is inside an electron. I'm not asking what is inside a proton. I'm not asking what is inside a neutron. I'm asking a simple fundamental questions. And that is, why all the electrons are of the same within a proximity of 10 to 15%. We don't find an electron the size of a neutron in atomic structure. Of the copper, that will be different for the zinc or will be different for plutonium. What dictates the fundamental size, the cornerstones of the creation of these entities in our universe? This is what the present world of physics has to answer. We have danced around it long enough. We have messed around with it long enough. We have to diffuse the condition because we couldn't understand, created a modern languages of keep from something else and something else inside the plasma of a neutron or a proton. But if we go in a bigger dimension, in the plasma of the solar system, put on the screen, how many names have they made for things which they assume to be inside the plasma of a proton? Rick, can you go on the Wikipedia and bring it up? The fancy names they come up, isn't that fancy name the same as the Earth? Whatever they have come up with different names, we call it Earth, we call it Moon, and we made it so sophisticated, we made it so elaborate that now we made it impossible for anybody to understand. When you look inside all these fancy names they made inside what is inside the nucleus, I tell you what's inside the nucleus. There's a center of energy called the sun, and the fields around it interact, and imagine how many quarks and everything else have been made. Every quark is a moon, every other quark is a planet, and everything else, those fancy little things, we call it asteroids.
Mr. Keshe, it's quite interesting here that, oh, there's a lot of feedback from your speaker.
From my...
I think you're, yeah, speaking back. There's an echo from my thing. Anyway, I'll try to be quick. I showed this image and the words for the image, and I see at the bottom, this is the incorrect image. They treat the strong force as a relationship between two particles, which is not true. And see the corrected image, they have another image because they messed up with their fancy, all their fancy particles and made something wrong with the image. So they had to correct the image in Wikipedia, apparently. That's pretty funny, I think. It's exactly what you're talking about. They got so much into their breaking things down that they don't really understand what they're talking about.
It's understanding. You see, this is the same story as I started regarding holography. When you're fancy and people don't understand, you can talk about anything. But now we put the facts of science on the table. The quarks, one of them up quarks and down quarks, we call it the Earth and the Moon. And the other upside down quarks, we call them the Saturn. There is no difference. There is no difference. Now we understand the science, we understand the totality of the world of physics from basic. Now we have to address it. And it's a job of scientists, especially physicists, not theoretical physicists. Theoretical physicists have a habit of putting things down and they make a mess of it because then they can cheat anywhere up. You don't see they can put a marker there and double it and nobody knows till somebody comes out and finds out. But what comes up with what it is a very fundamental question. Now we see the plasma of a proton, we see a plasma of a neutron, we see the plasma of electron. And now, for the first time, we have opened the structure of these entities, the plasma. And all these fancy words of quarks and up quark and down quark and a lot of crimsons and a lot of other things which in my nuclear education time I laughed at it and I never prepared to accept it. And I was told theoretical physics is the backbone of the physics, and I said the theory is wrong, so I carry on with my own. And the theory is very simple. What is in macro is in micro and reverse. The sun, the solar system, is a plasma, is a neutron. In time will divide when the center cannot hold on. And arguing this solar system, our sun will split. And from it comes others. And those others will be exactly in the same ratio as the ratio of neutron and proton and electron division coming from the neutron itself. But what, in essence, now that we understand what this fallacy about the nucleus, a neutron is, that is exactly like a solar system with all the bits in it, everything they cannot see. Now I tell you, up quark, we call it Earth. Down quark is called Mars. The funny up quark is called Jupiter, and the funnier one, which is a little bit dodgy, is called Saturn. And all other bits which flying in there is meteorites and icebergs and the moons. And if we can explain how the Earth was created and how the Jupiter was created and how these icy belts on the edge of the solar system and around different moons and planets have created, then we have find answer to all these crimsons and quarks. Change the name of the quarks to moon and see how quirky the moon and the Earth are. So now it's time to open the science, that every man understands the simplicity of it, the truth about it. But again, it brings us, we haven't answered the fundamental question yet. And that fundamental question to the world of physics, to the world of science is, what dictates the size of that solar system, which we call electron? What dictates the size of that solar system, which we call proton? That across this universe, wherever we look with our new science and depth of the telescopes we have created, we say planet so and so has zinc in it, or is made of helium, because in a matter state gravitational magnetic field, we see the characteristic of what we see on this planet as helium, so we assume it's got 2 electrons, 2 protons, and 2 neutrons. So the measure, the size, the structure of the electron on this planet and there is the same. But what is interesting and what is need to be answered by the world of science, and now by most of you, because you will face this in space. This is part of the space technology if you want to travel the dimensions of this universe. What dictates the size of the electron, which is the same in any point in this universe. What dictates it to have a motion of clockwise or anti-clockwise? What dictates its speed is the speed of the electron in a hydrogen the same as the electron in the outer boundary of plutonium. World of science has not answered any of these yet. Because they can't, they never brought the subject on the table, it has been pushed aside. They don't know we can play. It's become Vatican and the priest. Till somebody raises a question, we send an ambassador to Paris to sort it out who's playing with who. Now we have to see what's happening here. Because what you will understand simply is one fundamental question and one fundamental answer which you need to find to be able to open
Dziękuję za obejrzenie. Mamy na dzisiaj koniec tłumaczenia. Temat jest bardzo, bardzo ciekawy. I myślę, że wielokrotność obejrzenia tego da nam większe zrozumienie. Jak ktoś by chciał coś dodać od siebie lub zadać pytanie, być może ktoś będzie potrafił na nie odpowiedzieć, albo poruszymy lub wrócimy do tego, co było tu powiedziane, jeżeli wszystko zapamiętaliśmy. Tak więc zapraszam. Więc słuchamy. Jest ktoś?
Jarku, ja może nie w kontekście tego warsztatu, tylko poprzedniego, który wcześniej oglądaliśmy, bo tutaj w pewien sposób już zaczęliśmy nowy temat. Dr Keshe porusza te zagadnienia fizyki kwantowej, które nie zostały rozwiązane. Zadaje tutaj, można powiedzieć, pytania, które zadawał swoim wykładowcom i światowej fizyki od dziesiątek lat. Przy czym mówi tutaj, że ta fizyka teoretyczna, wszystko rozpisane na papierze, wszystko gdzieś tam można udowodnić, a jak jest w rzeczywistości, tak naprawdę mało z tych rzeczy jest zmierzonych, wiele z nich jest teoretyzowanych i po prostu pasują w jakieś tam ramy wyliczeń. A tutaj dr Keshe mówi nam w zasadzie to, co wiemy bardzo dobrze z plazmy, czyli tak samo w mikro, jak i w makro i na odwrót, więc możemy, tak jak tutaj było porównywane do planet, możemy sobie tłumaczyć te wszystkie kwarki, górne, dolne, powabne i tam jeszcze jakieś inne zwariowane jest rodzajów kwarków dość sporo. W tym wszystkim była też teoria, która też w pewnym czasie dążyła do unifikacji tych wszystkich sił oddziaływań, która mówiła o tym, że są 4 oddziaływania właśnie silne, słabe. To są te oddziaływania na poziomie jądrowym, do tego grawitacyjne i magnetyczne. Gdzie tutaj w technologii plazmy w zasadzie już dr Keshe o tym wcześniej mówił, że to jest w zasadzie zunifikowana wiedza, zunifikowana teoria, wszystko jest jedno, wszystko jest takie samo, w zasadzie jest powielanie tej samej struktury, czy to w mikro, czy to w makro. Cały czas jest to powtarzanie tego samego, a nawiązując do jeszcze 263 warsztatu i tego, o czym tam było powiedziane, czyli o węglu 12 i węglu 14, chciałem tylko jeszcze jedną rzeczą się podzielić, może zabrać parę aspektów do kupy bardzo, bardzo szybko. Mówiliśmy o węglu 14 jako właśnie tej komunikacji na poziomie duszy. Był taki obrazek, gdzie dr Keshe na poprzedniej części oglądaliśmy to w zeszłą niedzielę, rysował właśnie tą linię komunikacji i tłumaczył, że tutaj przy węglu 14 to jest ta komunikacja na poziomie duszy, przy węglu 12 to jest ta komunikacja na poziomie fizyczności, przekazywanie sobie genów, DNA i tak dalej, całe, można powiedzieć, nasze drzewo genealogiczne, jakie budujemy, a na czerwono węgiel 14 to jest właśnie ta komunikacja na poziomie duszy, kiedy widzimy we śnie duszę na przykład swojej matki czy kogoś ze swojej rodziny i później jesteśmy w stanie zapamiętać ten sen, mimo że ta komunikacja była właśnie na poziomie duszy. Także mamy tutaj te dwa poziomy, można powiedzieć. To, co widzimy, jaka jest różnica między nimi, to są w zasadzie dwa neutrony między węglem 12 i węglem 14. Na poprzedniej części wykładu 263, tak jak w niedzielę to omawialiśmy, dr Keshe trochę nam to w pewien sposób rozrysował, może nie mówił o tym w tym samym czasie, dlatego staram się tutaj te pewne aspekty zebrać do kupy. W każdym razie, jeśli spojrzymy na te dwa neutrony, tam dr Keshe był taki fragment, w którym omawiał, że ten neutron w pewnym momencie podzieli się na proton i elektron, jak to wiemy, czyli na duszę, na Adama i Ewę, na duszę fizyczności i duszę. Omawialiśmy te tematy wcześniej też w blueprincie pokojowym już jakiś rok temu, także to wszystko się przewija i do tego wracamy. I teraz jeśli spojrzymy na to po tym podziale jednego elektronu, gdzie dostajemy proton i elektron, jeśli spojrzymy na tą strukturę, co powstaje po podziale jednego z tych neutronów, to jest właśnie deuter. Jeden neutron, jeden proton, jeden elektron. I teraz widzimy, że węgiel 12 to jest sześciokrotnością tego deuteru. Zresztą dr Keshe mówił o tym, że kluczem do wszystkiego, do tworzenia jakichkolwiek pakietów energetycznych, jakichkolwiek kombinacji, które są potrzebne do tworzenia różnych elementów, to jest właśnie ten deuter. I 7 razy deuter daje nam węgiel 14, czyli widzimy, że różnica między jednym a drugim jest na poziomie jednego deuteru. Teraz jeśli bierzemy, można powiedzieć, nasza taka linia bazowa to jest ten węgiel 12, nasza fizyczna egzystencja i wiadomo, omawiając tutaj te nauki i poruszając te tematy, mówimy często o elewacji, o tym, jak pójść jeden krok wyżej, jak osiągnąć, różnie to sobie nazywamy, jedni mówią wyższe poziomy świadomości, inni mówią po prostu o nawiązaniu tego dialogu, świadomego dialogu ze swoją duszą i potrafienia działać, czy obserwować, czy odczuwać na poziomie duszy. I widzimy, że różnica między tym jednym poziomem a tym drugim, jeśli chodzi o elewację, to są właśnie te dwa neutrony. To jest właśnie to, co dr Keshe opisał nam jako proces rozpadania się jednego z tych neutronów, jak powstaje ta pojedyncza cegiełka, którą nazywamy deuterem. I myślę, warto też to skorelować z tym, co było uczone jakiś czas temu, czyli gdy dr Keshe mówił o Trójcy Świętej. Bo nie bez powodu, czemu węgiel 12 to nie jest na przykład 12 wodorów albo 4 tryty, tylko jest to ten deuter. I odpowiedź jest tutaj zawarta w strukturze deuteru. Deuter to jest izotop wodoru, jeśli chodzi o zwykły wodór, mamy proton i elektron, nie ma tam żadnych neutronów. W deuterze pojawia się ten dodatkowy neutron, a w trycie pojawia się jeszcze kolejny neutron, czyli mamy dwa neutrony, proton i elektron. I teraz właśnie ten deuter jest tą strukturą, tą trójcą. I tutaj Ojciec, neutron, Duch Święty i proton i Syn Boży, elektron. Tak można sobie to też porównać do tego. Zresztą to wszystko było na przestrzeni ostatnich paru tygodni bardzo ładnie przedstawione w pojedynczych fragmentach, ale zbierając to wszystko razem, myślę, że można zauważyć właśnie tą spójność, tą jedność tej Trójcy Świętej, jak to jest na przykład w Biblii opisane. I widzimy też nie bez powodu być może nasze te star formation, czyli te formacje gwiazdy. Baza formacji gwiazdy składa się z 3 elementów. Widzimy, że baza naszej fizycznej egzystencji po rozpakowaniu się jednego z tych neutronów to jest właśnie ten stan deuteru, czyli też ten stan właśnie tej trójcy zależności między tymi trzema, gdzie mamy każdy z tych elementów jest, można powiedzieć, na innej sile pól od najwyższej neutron po najniższą elektron na samym końcu i ta struktura, próbując szukać balansu, jak to mamy w naszej formacji gwiazdy, ona jest właśnie tym motorem, tą siłą napędową, która powoduje, że mamy tą rotację pól, mamy życie, mamy ruch w plazmie. Wiadomo, dopiero jak jest ruch, plazma potrzebuje ruchu, tej wymiany magnetyczno-grawitacyjnej interakcji, szukania balansu. W zasadzie wszystko opiera się w całym wszechświecie o szukanie tego balansu, więc w tym warunku, kiedy mamy 3 elementy, każdy o różnej sile, mamy różnicę gradientu tego naszego ratio, stosunku masy, siły, czegokolwiek, jak sobie to nazwiemy, między neutronem, protonem i elektronem. I to pozwala właśnie temu systemowi osiągnąć tą dynamikę plazmy, o której mówimy. I to też tutaj, co widzimy, jest w pewnym sensie wyjaśnieniem i krokiem do zrozumienia kolejnych chociażby systemów zdrowotnych, jakie będą wypuszczane w fundacji. O tym cały czas dr Keshe mówi, o tej dynamice pól, która nie bierze się z materii, tylko bierze się właśnie z interakcji między polami o różnych siłach. I jeszcze ostatni wątek, żeby już przeciągać i zakończyć gdzieś tam to, co tutaj poruszamy na tablicy w kontekście tego, co było mówione parę miesięcy temu, gdzie dr Keshe mówił, że to nawet to naukowcy tacy klasyczni, można powiedzieć, obliczyli, że w momencie śmierci uwalniana jest energia równa tam iluś kilotonom trotylu, czy iluś tam bombom nuklearnym, atomowym, które spadły na Hiroshimę. I zobaczmy, że może właśnie ta energia uwalniana to są, uwalniana, ta energia, która jest tak jakby z fizyczności uwalniana do duszy. Kiedyś dr Keshe mówił, że to jest jak taki lunchbox, jak takie pudełko z kanapkami, które dusza dostaje na drogę. I widzimy, że ta dusza po rozpakowaniu się tej fizyczności, czyli po tej degradacji w jednym sensie z tego węgla 14 na węgiel 12, gdzieś tam rozdysponowała te 2 neutrony na naszą fizyczność, na naszą duszę fizyczności, po to, żeby wytworzyć te struktury. I teraz, kiedy pakujemy to wszystko w drugą stronę, kiedy chcemy osiągnąć stan odwrotny, czyli elewację, czy to po prostu w procesie zrozumienia, świadome tego zrobienia, czy chociażby na etapie na przykład śmierci, tego co nazywamy śmiercią na poziomie fizyczności, to widzimy, że to, co właśnie mówią naukowcy o tej olbrzymiej ilości energii i o tym, co mówi dr Keshe, o tym zapasie energetycznym na drogę, na podróż, które dostaje dusza z poziomu, można powiedzieć, wychodzącą z poziomu fizyczności, tego naszego przywiązania do aminokwasu tutaj na Ziemi. Myślę, że tą siłę, która tam była wyrażana w jednostkach jakichś atomowych, można by w tym przypadku sobie gdzieś zrozumieć, czy porównać właśnie do siły fuzji tych 2 neutronów, które dołączając się do tego naszego węgla 12 fizyczności w pewien sposób upgrade'ują, czy elewują nam ten węgiel do poziomu właśnie 14. Także myślę, że bardzo ciekawe tutaj dr Keshe nam to dość rozlegle na paru warsztatach powiedział, ale w dużych szczegółach, jak te wszystkie elementy są od siebie zależne, jak poszczególnione się kreują i tutaj widzimy, czemu kluczem do tego wszystkiego jest jednak ten deuter, a nie wodór czy tryt. No i to tyle z mojej strony, tylko w kwestii takiego, można powiedzieć, uzupełnienia na przestrzeni kilku warsztatów, takie elementy, które mi się gdzieś tam dość mocno w oczy rzuciły, także dzięki.
No, dzięki Przemku za dodanie. Są może pytania jakieś? Tak, logiczny umysł po prostu czasami ma ciężko po prostu to przetrawić wszystko naraz, ale myślę, że powoli dajemy radę. Dobrze, mamy 2 godziny 20 minut, także zakończymy na dzisiaj i spotykamy się w niedzielę. Tak więc to były 238 warsztaty poszukiwaczy wiedzy w języku polskim z czwartku 28 lutego 2019 roku. Tak więc dziękuję za przetłumaczenie i dobrej nocy i do usłyszenia. Także dziękuję bardzo. Nadszedł czas zmiany, przejścia do prawdziwego działania wszechświata. I nadszedł czas, aby zrozumieć, że używamy stanu materii, by osiągnąć poziom zrozumienia duszy człowieka. Teraz rozumiesz, być może, dlaczego Kreator wysłał swoich posłańców w imię tego, co miałeś. To oni przynoszą uszy, aby można było ich użyć, gdy nadejdzie czas Mesjasza. Mogę nauczyć duszę i przesłanie, nie by się przeciwstawiać, ale poprzez ich zrozumienie przez tych, którzy stali się Mesjaszami, aby dawać ze swoich dusz, aby ich elewować. Zadanie stało się łatwe. Szkoła jest tutaj i uczniowie są tutaj w oddaniu. Wtedy nie będzie żadnej walki między tym, co nazywają muzułmanami, a chrześcijanami. Baranek i lew będą jeść i spać w tym samym gnieździe. Chrześcijanie i muzułmanie będą spać i modlić się w meczecie, w tym samym kościele, w imię ich dusz, nie w imię religii, które są używane do tworzenia tak wielu konfliktów, dla korzyści tych, którzy byli hiperaktywnymi dziećmi. Nadszedł czas, czas zmian jest tutaj. I jak powiedziałem, moje życzenie jest moim rozkazem. Jeśli pragniesz ujrzeć pokój, droga pokoju jest wyłożona bardzo wyraźnie. To dusza świadomości zbiorowej. Poprzez dawanie stworzy tą pozycję zmiany. Nic innego. W duszy człowieka nie ma długopisu. Jestem pewien, że po wejściu do społeczności uniwersalnej nigdy nie zobaczysz niczego zapisanego, ale równowagę pól duszy egzystencji. Staraj się być na tyle pokornym, aby nie stać się aroganckim w mocy, którą zrozumiałeś i posiadłeś. Inaczej wpadniesz w tą samą ścieżkę kościoła i meczetu. To jest to, co obiecaliśmy i to właśnie dostarczyliśmy. Musimy zrozumieć działanie duszy. I musimy zrozumieć, że dusza człowieka jest gwiazdą w kosmosie wszechświata. Jeśli porównamy duszę człowieka i tak wielu nas, 7 miliardów w jednym zbiorze, Ziemia jest jak galaktyka z tak wieloma gwiazdami. Kiedy patrzymy w głąb wszechświata, widzimy galaktyki z setkami milionów gwiazd. Podobnie jest z planetą Ziemią. Niesie 7 miliardów pięknych gwiazd, które są duszą człowieka. Niesie z sobą duszę tak wielu trylionów zwierząt, roślin i wszystkiego innego. Jeśli więc patrzą ci, którzy nie widzą fizyczności Ziemi i jej zawartości, co widzą? Widzą galaktykę z wielką ilością pięknych, świecących świateł. Każda według swojej siły. Każda zgodnie ze swoją pozycją. Niemowlę ma piękną duszę, podobnie jak staruszek. Dla tych niefizycznych, którzy nie widzą fizycznego wymiaru tej planety, ale widzą siłę pola, jesteśmy gromadami gwiazd. Ludzka rasa, każda pojedyncza dusza, nikt z daleka nie widzi. To jest dusza rybaka, to jest dusza kosmologa, to jest dusza prezydenta. Wszystkie świecą bez względu na fizyczność. To jest magia. Oto, co nowa nauka musi przynieść człowiekowi. Kiedy patrzymy przez naszą duszę, widzimy tylko gwiazdy w innych duszach. I to jest przełom, to jest zrozumienie. Na tym właśnie polegają te wszystkie nauki. Dojście do dojrzałości następnego poziomu, aby zrozumieć daleki kosmos. Wszechświat jest ostrygą dla tych dusz, które służą. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy do wejścia w kosmos. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy, aby stać się częścią uniwersalnej społeczności, która została obiecana. Nigdy nie obiecywałem wam nieba. Zawsze obiecywałem wam elewację człowieka, aby przyłączył się do rodziny. A teraz macie klucz. To wy musicie otworzyć drzwi, aby zrozumieć, że mogę elewować duszę tych ludzi lub milionów innych dusz, że fizyczne życie na tej planecie zmieni się. Wtedy jestem godny bycia częścią społeczności uniwersalnej, by być, aby służyć, aby się rozwijać, by być tam, aby być częścią, że w cyklu życia wszechświata staje się w byciu częścią, staje się częścią totalności. Kiedy człowiek osiągnie ten punkt, pojawi się nowy wymiar w sile duszy człowieka, który jest poza wyobrażeniem zrozumienia życia fizycznego. To jest brama do otwarcia nowego życia w nowym wymiarze, co jest poza wyobrażeniem tego, co mogliście nazwać nowym początkiem, nowym cyklem, gdzie ten cykl niesie ze sobą źródło stworzenia życia we wszechświecie i unikosie. To jest elewacja duszy, aby służyć. Stała się kluczem. Nie tron życia fizycznego. Czas jest odpowiedni, nadszedł czas, aby człowiek przeszedł przez ten proces.